Hello and welcome to this Junior's Gasoline Alley, where today we're going to be replacing the front brake pads on my 2020 GMC Sierra. I've done a video on replacing the rear brake pads, but now the fronts need to be replaced. We're down to 1%. And I'm going to show you the process of doing that by using these Ray Bestos coated front rotors and the Bosch Quiet Cast brake pads so that my truck gets returned to working well and in good shape, considering the front rotors themselves are pretty well worn to go along with the pads. And we'll go ahead and start getting the truck jacked up, vestry jack stand, and then let it down. Okay, we go ahead and turn to taking our wheels off so that we can get at these brakes. Now, typically with a 4-piston fixed caliper like this, you can actually pull the brake pads out all on their own if you're not going to replace the rotor. But here, I'm hoping you can see, but there's a very significant lip or space between the outside of the rotor and where it is on the inside, because as these pads have been wearing down, they've also been wearing down on our rotor. And so I want to make sure that I replace the rotor at the same time, which really just simply means pulling the brake pads out, then we'll pull the whole caliper out so we can get this rotor. So what I'm going to start off with is simply just pulling the retaining clips off of these posts that go through our caliper. So that's just going to go here and then pulls straight out. Let's get the other one. There we go. Unfortunately, that one was annoyingly on backwards. So once those are out, we got to tap these guys to come out, and you'll find that'll be a bit easier if you use a punch. And then we can go ahead, get a handle on it, pull that straight out. We'll do the same down low here. And that's what's going to then allow us to take the spring mechanism off. This will get replaced with the new brake pads. What we'll do with taking the bolts off of the caliper that are right here. Same down low. And so right up here, that is the pad sensor that has been being worn down and hints how the truck knows that it was getting time to replace this sensor. So we'll put that aside. We're going to replace it later, but not right now. And instead, we can pull our brake pads out, which do have a little corrosion. No real surprise. I mean, it is New England. It's fair to say that I got my money's worth out of these brake pads. Before we move on to hanging the caliper out of the way and getting at the rotors, I'm going to go ahead and slide in my tool here, which is going to allow us to spread the pistons on the calipers. As you'll notice while I'm pressing the pistons back into the caliper, my piston reset tool required using one of the brake pads to get the spacing correct. But we'll press these pistons back in until they're totally reset. And now we can go ahead and hang this caliper out of the way and then go ahead and use a zip tie to be able to zip tie this up out of the way so as not to let the caliper hang by the brake line. That's something you definitely don't want to do, so get it safely tucked away so that we can get on to removing the rotor. And now we've got this one locating pin for our rotor, so we're going to go ahead and start taking that off. 1530. Unfortunately, it was being a bit of a pain, and it's specified before this is a New England car, so time to crank out the torch and let a little nap gas solve my problem. And while we're at it, we'll go ahead and use a abrasive pad on my die grinder to just clean up the rust on the hub of the car before putting on the new rotor. Alright, and now we'll be able to take our new rotor, which admittedly is both gigantic and heavy. Slide that on there, and then that locating screw that we had before, and that's going to help us make sure that we get the rotor hat all the way back on. Now once that rotor is in place, then we can turn our attention to our brake caliper and pads. And what I'm going to start with is just safely releasing the caliper, which I have it hung via a zip tie. That way it wouldn't have hurt our hydraulic hose. Unwrap that, slide it into place. And these do have a little bit of red Loctite, so I'm going to go ahead and add some more on. That wrapped up and on. Then down here, all right, we still got to torque those down. Make sure that they're on nice and snug. There we go.
Hello.
Then we can go ahead and take our old brake pad sensor wire out and begin sliding the new stuff back together. So I've gone ahead and I got this sensor wire from Brake Select. The branding of this really doesn't matter as long as it fits. Unfortunately, Rock Auto sent me the wrong one, so I had to go with this to get it done. But so this pad sensor is going to slide right in just like that, and what we'll be able to do is clip that into place when it's in the caliper. And the pad's going to slide in with that tab down, but just like so. Boom. And then underneath, you can grab our pad sensor, and then it literally just clicks right in back there. So it clicks in like that, and then together this goes. Click that back down, and boom, we're in place. Now your outermost pad Slides right in just like the other one. Remember, tab going down. Just like so. And then we'll take the new hardware that's going to come with the set, take one of the spring mechanisms, and then two of the pins for the moment, and you'll take your spring system, slide that into place just like so. And this is really where
perfect.
boom. And there we are. Now, if you look at those pins, what you're looking for is that little hole to be visible. And you're going to throw in one of these cotter pins to make sure that pin does not come out free. Give it just an extra degree of safety to not come out. There we go. Both of those are in there. We've got the cotter pins tucked in. We've got our spring tucked in to keep the pads from rattling. And just like that, the brakes are installed with new rotors. That these are all coated even into the vanes. And as you can tell, this being a Northeast truck has a bit of rust. So that's going to help out. And then I've got those Bosch Quiet Cast brake pads all mounted up in the caliper. Process is pretty easy to get this done, and something that you ought to be able to get done with some basic hand tools all within a day's time. Now, if you have any questions about how this was done, go ahead and leave them down in the comments below. Naturally, bleeding the system and flushing out the old brake fluid is highly recommended, and you can watch one of my other videos on how exactly to do that. But for this one, I'm going to end it here, and I hope you guys got some value out of this video.